All right, good morning, my friends. Happy Mindful Monday. I'm going to spend the next 7 Mondays, the next 7 weeks, going through what is known as the 7 spiritual laws of success. And even though these laws, as I'm going to be sharing them with all of you, are really based on the books and the teachings of Dr. Deepak Chopra, who happened to be my direct teacher, it was not Deepak that created these laws or these rules. In fact, I don't like the word laws or rules because I break all of the rules. But there are spiritual principles. There are truths within this manifest universe that guide each and every single one of us. And the bottom line is that the more that we understand them, the more that we can actually work with them versus feeling like the world or the universe is out to get us. So I'm going to take probably the next half an hour or so, and embedded into every single one of these lessons that I'm going to be sharing with you is a very brief little meditation. It's going to be an opportunity for you to be able to integrate. So just know whatever you're doing right now, if you're driving, if you're eating breakfast, if you're taking a shower, doing your hair and your makeup to get ready for the day, or maybe you're watching this at another point in the day, you can listen and multitask and do all of the things. And then towards the end, there's an opportunity for a little bit of integration. All right, so thank you for all of you who are just coming in here right now. And also for those of you who are new to me, good morning. My name is Mandy. Hello. And what some of you may or may not know is that I have been a meditation teacher, a teacher of Ayurveda, and also a 7 spiritual laws of yoga teacher. All of these very specific trainings I took with Dr. Deepak Chopra beginning 22 years ago at the Chopra Center in Southern California. And so yes, Deepak was a direct teacher of mine, but one of the things that I learned from him, even before I went into these teachings and trainings, came from a very important and a very impactful book for me that I read that he wrote called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. And these guiding principles are ways for us to be able to look at what are the greater forces that are in play in the world acting upon me. And when you recognize what these forces are, you're actually going to see the ways that you've either been in heavy resistance to it or ways that we can open our hands a little bit, maybe turn in a way that it's almost like the wind at our back instead of, running uphill into a snowstorm. And it just makes things in life feel so much more difficult. So the law or the principle that I want to go through today on this Mindful Monday is the law of pure potentiality. Okay, the law of pure potentiality that basically states at a very fundamental level within all of the dynamics of the universe, that includes what's happening here on earth, is that anything is possible. Okay, in any moment, anything is possible. Anything is possible. And so with that said, how often do you, I'll pin this on you because I have also pinned this on myself, but how often do you start to create an inner dialogue or an inner narrative and you've already projected an outcome? I don't want to say that you predicted an outcome, but you have projected an outcome. Okay, so you project an outcome and say, I just know that this is going to happen. I just know that when I show up at work, this is what I'm going to be met with. I just know that when I reveal this news to my partner, this is exactly what's going to happen. I just know that if I make this choice, this is going to happen. And I know what you're probably going to say. You're probably going to say what I've also said to myself many times is that, yeah, I know that that's going to happen because I have proof or I have evidence that that's going to happen. And there's so many different ways that we exist within these, what I like to call self-fulfilling prophecies. But if we actually open everything up, you guys, there's so many different moves that can take place. There's some that hold a stronger probability or possibility. And one of the best examples that I've ever heard of this is playing chess. Now, I'm not a huge chess player. In fact, I barely really know the game. I've only learned it from my children a few times, and they usually whoop my ass so fast that I don't even come back in and play that. But the thing is that when we are playing, every single move that we make, we don't know what the other person is going to do. And it might seem obvious, but how many times have you played a game? Let's say you've played chess before and you're like, oh my God, I feel like I really didn't have any other choices. And so you make one move and you already have decided in your head that as soon as I make this move, I can already see that that person is going to do this and then it's going to be game over for me. And then for whatever reason, the person doesn't make that move or they don't do that. And you're like, whew, oh my God, like I almost lost it there right now. I can't believe that they missed that move. Or you think that you're, the king or the queen of the castle, and you're like, I'm going to make this move and I'm going to win this game. And then all of a sudden they sweep in and something happens and you're like, oh my God, how did I miss that? How did I miss that that's what was going to happen? The thing is with a game of chess is that there are billions of different probabilities and possibilities from both sides. Even if you were to play chess against a computer, it's not set out who's going to win right from the get-go. And why I use chess as an example is because chess really shows us that there are different rules and dynamics and different moves and, probabilities or combinations or permutations, if you will, that are possible. But at the end of the day, the one who's about to play the card or to play the chip has free will and has the choice in terms of what probability it wants to take. There are some that are going to seem more obvious, but that's not the only choice. There are so many, good morning, my love. There are so many different choices and options that are available in any single moment. And the point that I'm trying to make here right now is that there is one very specific universal law or universal rule that is a part of the constant creation and the nourishing and also the necessary destruction so that recreation can happen. But there's one rule or one dynamic within all of this called the Law of Pure Potentiality that states that in any given moment, anything is possible. But why do we keep self-fulfilling prophecies? And it's like, well, if I think anything is possible, why do I keep getting the same thing over and over and over again? And I would say it's because of your level of consciousness or awareness. And so I'm doing this because most of us look at the world around us like this or like this, and we literally have blinders on to everything else. And we believe that whatever we can see through this scope of focus, we start to believe that this is all that is possible and that this is all that is probable. The Law of Pure Potentiality states that the moment that you start to take these blinders off, you actually realize, like, holy shit, there is another choice that exists outside of that. And you want to know what some of the evidence is? Is that people besides you have found other ways that then shock and surprise you. And you're like, how did that person get success in that? How did that person find whatever it is that they were looking for, but I haven't been able to find what I'm looking for? It's because their scope of awareness, their scope of consciousness is greater or different. Sometimes it's not more than you, but sometimes it's different than you. You can exist at a same level of awareness, but what you're seeing over here, right out in front of you, is that they're taking a quarter turn to the left and they're seeing something else over there. Right? So there can be a different vantage point. Let's use the example of going into a hockey arena to watch a game, right? Is that there are going to be, let's say you're sitting in row 4, is that there's going to be, I don't know how many seats around the ice in row 4. That would be, I would say, reminiscent of the same level of consciousness or the same level of awareness, because you're seeing exactly the same opportunities or perspectives, but just from a slightly different seat, a slightly different angle. But then as the seats get higher and higher, and we usually think, right, like, I don't want the higher seat. That's not a good seat. The best seat is the one that's right beside the ice where you can bang on the glass. I might beg to differ, especially if we're using this as a metaphor. I think the best seat in the house is the higher that we get, because now we can see so many more probabilities and possibilities that are taking place. It's why the practice of meditation or mindfulness, which are different, by the way. Okay, they're just different types of practices that take us into different states of awareness. But for the sake of simplicity, let's just say it's the same thing. But the practice of meditation or mindfulness allows us to open up and to be able to entertain, I will say, not alternative possibilities, but extending possibilities, opening ourselves all the way up to be able to go, oh my gosh, this is an option, yeah, but it's not the only option. Because so many times in our lives, we feel, all of us have had this before, and maybe you're here in your life right now, but you feel like you've come to a literal fork in the road where you feel like your only options are option A or option B. And what causes a tremendous amount of stress and inner turmoil is that neither one of them feel like aligned, good, heart-based options. It feels like, shit, no matter what I do, somebody's going to lose. Doesn't feel good. So what the Law of Pure Potentiality is reminding us is the possibility to be able to get above choice number one and choice number two, and still see that choice number one and choice number two are on the table, but that there are far more choices before, after, above, below, inside, outside, and around that. And intuitively, you guys, it's one of the reasons why when you feel stuck at that crossroads, that you start to go out to your friends, you start to talk to psychics, you start to pull oracle cards, you start to tap into some of the other potentialities, because that is a part of our nature. And I say that there's a gift in feeling stuck. There's a gift in feeling like those aren't viable options, because we start to feel the misalignment in both of those options. And that is the time for us to start to open ourselves up to the law of possibility and pure potentiality. That is where then what we start to call is this whole process of creativity starts to kick in. So creativity is our ability to be able to manipulate the choices and say, by manipulation, I don't mean like sneaky, slimy, snaky manipulation. I mean, how can I start to, even within what appears to be two stark choices, how can I start to find a little bit of movement, a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of bendability inside of these choices where they can become a little bit fuzzier? And it's like, okay, I see that this is a choice, but maybe there's even some wiggle room within this, right? So we need to start to open ourselves up to more of a creative process. Right, to more of a creative process. Now, I think that this is such an interesting conversation then around creativity, because so many of us have been trained to believe that if you are a creative person, then that means that you're a musician or you're a painter or you're, a sculptor or something to that nature. When creativity is simply our ability. Where does creativity come from? The front of our brain, okay? But it's our ability to be able to access the front of the brain, so what we call into the prefrontal cortex, that allows higher thinking. It's getting from row 4 around the ice in the arena to being able to climb up into the nosebleed so we can see everything. But even within the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which I always dupe this as our wise old owl. Why? Because the owl sits in the top of the tree, and the owl carries a tremendous amount of capacity and ability to not only be able to see what it can see in broad daylight with these two eyes, but the owl can also see in the dark. And it's our ability to be able to tap into, I think, the question of what is it that I'm not seeing, right? Show me what I'm not seeing. And so if you're like me and you're a very spiritual person, you don't have to be, I'll give you the alternative. But if you're a very spiritual person and you have a relationship with spirit, source, God, creator, whatever your word is for that, that's where I tap in and I say, okay, spirit, okay, creator, show me what I'm not seeing here. Show me what is sitting in the dark, and maybe I'm feeling it, maybe I'm hearing it, maybe it's completely in my blind spot, because sometimes we say, I was totally blindsided, something we weren't seeing, right? Spirit, show me what I'm not seeing that is there, okay? If you're not spiritual, that's cool too. Then go into the vision of the owl, okay? Owl, Mr. Owl, tapping into you as an archetype or you as maybe a mentor. Show me what it is that I'm not seeing. I'm open to creativity. So that is then how we use the conscious brain, the cognitive brain, still a part of our ego and our identity. We're still here in the human realm. We're tapping in and saying, show me. And then the second piece outside and above that to tap into creativity, and this is really, really important, you guys, is that then we are going beyond what is physical and biological, and we're actually moving into a realm that we cannot see. Okay, I love that you just asked that question. Why am I too scared to do that? Ooh, you know why I love that? Because sometimes we know what it is that is sitting over there on the other side of the light. We know what is lurking and hiding in the shadows. And sometimes we're really afraid to know. Show me what I'm not seeing. We're afraid to know it because it actually means that things really do have to change. It means that I do have more options. There's a responsibility that comes in that. And it was actually Gandhi that said, once you know more, it is then your responsibility to do more. So sometimes it's kind of easy to play down or to play dumb. Right? It's like, oh, sorry, I didn't know any better. I didn't know any more. Right? So once you know it, it's like, oh no, now I got to do something about this. Okay. But when I say tapping into the field of creativity, This, you guys, is no different. This field of creativity, you can call it whatever you want. Again, you can call it the spiritual field, the field of source. You can call it the creative field. Let's call it the creative field today, okay? Let's call it the creative field. But the creative field, believe it or not, is not any different than the internet. It's not any different than the web, if you will, the web of information, the web of energy. And isn't it fascinating that you have the ability to know anything that you have ever wanted to know and will ever want to know by simply tapping your request or your intention into a tiny little box. So when you think about tapping it into Google or whatever your search engine is, and let's just use a very benign example of how do I get red wine out of carpet? Okay, Google, tell me, how do I get red wine out of carpet? Where it is that we're tapping that in, or we're typing that in, is we're tapping it into the prefrontal cortex of our brain. Okay, this is the part, again, of opening ourselves up to logic, to reason, to higher perspective, to creativity. So it's also where we start to create language and organization. So we tap it in here, but all of the answers, because right now, if I was to ask you, how do you get red wine out of carpet? Some of you might know how to do this based on experience, but some of you are like, I don't know how to do it. The answer, and the billions of different answers, because so many different ways to do this, so many potentialities and so many combinations. The answers are not stored inside of the prefrontal cortex of your brain. The answers are stored inside of the collective memory, inside of the collective creative, inside of the consciousness, inside of the web that we cannot see, but we are constantly interacting with, not only with our phones and with our computers. But here's what I want to tell you guys. We have and have always had access to this field even before we had the internet. How do you think the internet was invented? Who came up with that idea? Where do you think they got the idea of creating the internet? They got the idea from this collective web, from this collective consciousness. And they're like, oh, wow, this is how we're going to do it. It's kind of a mystery, but it's really not. Because it's the way that your mind and the way that your soul is already operating all the time. But if we keep closing ourselves down, right? And I mean, think about it. You go onto an airplane. You have your phone on airplane mode. You haven't bought the $1,000 package to be able to surf the sky so that you can have Wi-Fi access. And here you are looking at your phone going, I don't have internet access right now. This is really boring. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I should be looking at. And the only information then that you're going to be able to gather, to be able to do anything with, to play with, to learn from, is what has already been experienced, and it's downloaded, and it's kind of in a hard drive inside of your phone. So we do have different programs that are running in the background of our subconscious. But 99%, not only of your memories, but of anything that is going to come new. So anything that is creative means that it is new to you. So anything that is going to come new into your consciousness and into your awareness already exists somewhere before it comes to you. It is already existing as potentiality. So here's the other crazy thing, you guys, is that the answer to how do you get red wine out of carpet, or even the answer if you were to go punch into your GPS today because you have an appointment somewhere that you've never been before, and you're like, hey, here's the address, and I need Google Maps to tell me how to get there. As soon as you punch that address into your phone, that whole physical address does not exist inside of the World Wide Web as a fully and completely manifested map. It actually sits inside of the World Wide Web as a wave. It's a wave of potential that holds a specific data or energetic frequency, that the moment that your intention connects to that, it collapses that wave into something that then creates a ripple, that then creates a form, and then it appears in front of you. I know, sounds a bit crazy for a Monday morning, yeah? Okay. But the bigger point that I want to make, and why I'm making this with all of you, is because we have to stop telling ourselves that what it is that I really want, or I want to do, or that I want to know, we have to stop telling ourselves that it's impossible. It's like, well, that's never going to happen because it's never been done and there's no way to do that. Inventions happen every single day. right? Creative solutions drop into people's minds and into their bodies and into their lives and into their experiences every single day. Step one, you know how they say, what is the mother of invention? It's necessity. Inventions don't actually happen. And I would say the dropping in of a new idea doesn't happen until it is needed and until it is required. And so step number one for you is to get very, very clear about what you want or what you need. And you probably think that you're being very clear about it, but if it hasn't shown up, chances are that is one place to troubleshoot. Maybe you haven't been super clear, right? So step number one is getting clear. And so asking yourself, what is it that I really need? And so when I say, what is it that I really need is more of a human level, and it is important because as humans, we have needs. Do you need food? Do you need shelter? Do you need to belong somewhere? Do you need to feel included? Do you need to feel loved? Do you need to feel seen? Do you need to feel heard? Do you need to feel safe? These are all very deep human needs. Or is there something that is, as we climb up Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is there something more spiritual that's coming at you? Is it more of a desire? And sometimes that can be a little bit more subtle, so it's harder to put our finger on what it is. But trust me, when you actually get into your heart and you say, what is it that you really need? It's like, I need to feel like I'm on purpose. I need to feel like what I'm doing actually matters. I need to feel good, right? I want to feel aligned when I go to work every day. I want to feel like a deep level of intimacy when I'm connecting in my relationships. So you need to know, number one, what that is, because every single one of your thoughts that is attempting to convey this need is being eavesdropped upon by all of these waves and these frequencies around you that are extending beyond your prefrontal cortex. And the universe, or spirit, or the creative field, is trying to respond through all of these waves and clap something into form. But the more unclear that you are, the harder it is, right? So you get clear, this universal field gets clear, and then you get clear in your response to being able to actually recognize that that then is one of, or many of the strategies or answers that could potentially be helping and supporting you. Okay? So step number one, get very, very, very clear on what it is that you need. Step number one. Step number two is that as you start to be open to potential strategies, so this was always one of my criticisms of one of my children in particular, because this, and I won't name names because I don't want to point this child out, but whenever this child would come to me with a problem, it became very, very clear that they actually didn't want any of my strategies or any of my creative solutions. They just wanted a place to dump and to get the energy and the emotion out and the frustration and everything out. And I actually realized that they never really in that moment took my strategies or my solutions, but it was enough for them to move the energy so that then when they walked away from me, there was some movement and some opening that they could see, okay, even if I don't like what my mom's suggestions are, they could now see that there were multiple suggestions beyond just the one that was standing in front of them. Okay? So this is a part of it for all of us as well, is as soon as you sit down, whether it's with your journal or in your meditation practice or when you're falling asleep at night and you say, okay, spirit, universe, here's what I really want. Here's what I need right now. Here's my desire. I have no idea beyond just whatever's sitting in front of me. I have no idea what some of the other possibilities are for me. I release it into your hands. So we release and we let go, but then we need to be open. And it doesn't mean that we have to like every single solution that comes up. An idea drops into your head. I say, feel it. Try it on, right? It's like if you go looking for a holiday dress for a party, chances are you're not going to buy the very first one that you see. You're going to want to go and try it on. You want to feel it on. How does this feel? Does it feel good? It might look good, but try it on. Sit in it. Feel in it. How does that feel for me? What might be the feeling or the impact for other people? And if it's not for you, if the first solutions that come your way aren't for you, thank you, Spirit. Not that one. Not that one. Not right now. Show me what else is possible. Okay, so we don't need to necessarily have the answer right away, but we definitely need to be open to the potentiality that there are many other combinations or possibilities beyond only a few that maybe we're looking at right now. And then when we find one that we feel really fits, it's like, I'm going to try this right now. And I'm going to start to put a few steps. I'm going to put a little bit of momentum into these new choices. The next thing that is important for you to know is that if it feels different and we're really tapping into that field of pure potentiality, is that it might feel a little bit uncomfortable at first because you're trying something new. And my invitation to every single one of you is to not give up right away. To know every other habit and behavior that you have at some point in time was brand new and it felt difficult and clunky in the beginning. It just did, until we start to wire a whole bunch of new neural networks, until the body starts to store the information, kind of like riding a bike. You begin to get into the unconscious habit of it, if you will. Be kind with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. You're trying on something new. But also be forgiving with yourself if you really go for it, and if it doesn't pan out, then you didn't fail. You actually tried something new, and in the trying something new, it continues to open your faculties up to the fact that you're allowed to try different things. You're allowed to take different paths until you start to find ones that just feel more aligned for you. And then the last piece is, when you do find ones that feel more aligned, start to practice gratitude. Right? Begin to bring gratitude and appreciation into your practice, because do you know that saying that what you appreciate appreciates, right? Or where your attention goes, energy flows. And so if something is starting to feel, a little bit better, a little bit more on task, like it's actually getting you unstuck and it's growing and you're beginning to see some success, however you measure success, is engage in a practice. And for me, my gratitude practice is every single morning before I open my eyes and I'm still a little bit sleepy, I bring my hands onto my heart and I'm laying in bed. And I'm like, what are 3 things that I'm really, really grateful for this morning? And just sit and feel it in your body. It's like, yeah, I'm really grateful. And I'll tell you right now, one of the things that I'm grateful for this morning is that I had a past student or a client post on, put a comment on one of my posts that I had shared on Facebook a few days ago. And the post was very her comment was very out of character for her. And it was very nasty and mean towards me. And it really blindsided me, like it cut me. And what my instinct wanted to do was to quickly delete it and pretend that I didn't see it, because it made me feel so uncomfortable. And then there was a bigger part of me that's like, okay, that's not the only possibility in this scenario. Like, in terms of how do I dissolve? I don't want to feel bad right now, but clearly somebody else is feeling bad right now. So this is a call to be able to reach out. How can I handle this in a different way than maybe I ever did in the past? And so I reached out to her personally. And I just said, I'm so sorry. Is there something that I missed? Can we have a conversation? And she said, I don't know what you're talking about. And she said, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm really navigating a lot of PTSD right now, a lot of mental illness. And, there were some other things going on for me. And sometimes I have these weird blackout episodes. And she's like, I'm so ashamed and I'm so embarrassed. And I said, there's no need to be ashamed and embarrassed. I felt that there must have been something off within you. And I recognized my quick jump to want to get back up against the wall and to get offended by it and for me to make it about me. But there's more than one player here. And after our back and forth, I really believe that tapping into other possible and potential courses of action in that, she felt way more seen and heard and cared for and loved. And I'm sure that that's going to create a different trajectory for her. But I also felt that way too. It took a lot of courage for me to say, did I fuck up? Did I do something that really was very, very offensive? And I had to be willing to be able to, and if that was true, if that's true, there's something for me to clean up and to clear up. And so one of my first spaces of gratitude this morning was thank you to any and all of the forces that brought me into that really uncomfortable, kind of 2-hour span. And I feel so grateful for that. And I feel grateful for that, knowing now that this will continue to be another choice or another potentiality when I bump into something, and I will, where somebody shows up in a way that makes me feel, again, or makes me feel. I then feel there's a trigger inside of myself that then causes me to feel like I did something wrong. And I know that there's new potential. It's to be able to go into it. And I've opened a new door and a new course of action. And it's also one of many different courses of action, right? So really engaging in that gratitude practice where your attention goes, energy flows, and we begin to create more appreciation for these types of opportunities and experiences in our lives, so that every single time we come to another block in the road, it's like, okay, this feels difficult. Spirit, show me what are some other ways that I can handle this right now. And then it gets us unstuck and we start to move down another road that, I don't know, like I think the course of action in all of this is going to start to feel better and better and better. Could have unstuck a lot of other things in my life too. So how do you start today, beyond just what I was sharing with you about the Law of Pure Potentiality? And I'm really going to invite you for this whole entire week, actually, to be in the Law of Pure Potentiality. And one of the practices is to start to do things differently and to start small. Okay, so I have my morning drink that I have here right now, and it's a habit. I love having this drink every single morning. It's like a drink that has turmeric and everything in it. So starting really, really small is that I don't drink it with my right hand. I drink it with my left hand, which, believe it or not, feels a little bit weird for me. And when I go to eat my breakfast, eat with the opposite hand. It's starting to make different connections in different sides of your body. And I know that that seems small, but trust me, it starts to make a difference. When you leave the house today, if you're used to always taking exactly the same road, maybe take a different road. Or if you're like, no way, Jose, but you're used to listening to the same music or to the same podcasts, can you completely change genres right now? It's also Christmas. It's December 2nd. Maybe you haven't started listening to Christmas music yet. Everything that you do that starts to make micro changes, and I would invite you honestly to do it just for this week. What is one new thing that you can change? And it is like, for those of you that were listening to me since the beginning of today's talk, and I use the metaphor of existing in the same level of awareness and the same level of consciousness, is it's like sitting inside of a hockey arena. And if you have seat, or if you're sitting in row 4, sometimes, we keep going to the same seat every single time. And it can be helpful to even just move 10 seats to the left. And now we see things a little bit differently. But maybe you can get brave enough this week to actually climb up a few levels. And you start to do some things that are quite different. Because every single choice that you make, it's like playing chess. If you're always used to the same 3 opening moves, if you move differently from your very first move, or you make a bigger move on your second move or your third move, the bigger move is going to create a bigger ripple. It's going to create a bigger wave. So you have your hand on the gear shift, right? You have your foot on the gas or on the brake. Whatever moves or changes you're making this week, it is going to change and shift your life, I promise you. And when we stay open to pure potentiality, one of the little things that I like to say to Spirit is, show me how good it can get. Show me how good it can get. And just take off that governor switch. The governor, if you don't know, I guess I could only, for me, relate it to the golf cart. There's a governor on it that only allows a golf cart to go so fast. But I learned this from golfing with all my guy friends in high schools, that you can actually pull it and the golf cart goes way faster. So what if you took that switch off and you say, show me how good it can get as I start to make some different choices this week, instead of just saying, this is my intention. Okay, show me that and something even better. And something even better. And if you need any examples of that, I'll share with you my own little example really quick before I sign off here right now. Some of you might know if you've been following me for a little while, or if you've been in my life. And about 4 years ago, my husband and I bought our tiny little farm in the Okanagan, and we've renovated this beautiful big red barn, and we live inside of the barn. And oh my God, I love it so much. But we tried to build a house out there for the last 4 years, and we wanted this small little Scandinavian farmhouse, like this little Nordic farmhouse. It's been on my vision board for like 10 years, and we wanted it so bad. And we have sunk so much money into different like ecological engineers, and there's so many different rules on this land because we are inside of this special agricultural reserve. And up until about this last May, it just wasn't happening. And we weren't able to figure it out so that we could actually get permitting, to the point where we actually built like a little modular Nordic farmhouse, and we had to sell it back to the company because we just could not get the proper permitting to bring it onto our property. And I was heartbroken. I went through some grief around that because the vision that I had for it was just simply not happening. Anyway, in May, there was just something that dropped in. And it's like, but I see this vision. I see this vision of us being able to be more in nature all of the time. And we were still going back and forth between Edmonton and Vernon, which is where our barn and our farmhouse was going to be. But there was something that was out of alignment because it wasn't happening. No matter how hard we were trying within, maybe the 8 or the 10 choices that we were entertaining in this range, is that we actually weren't seeing that there were so many other options outside and around that to be able to have the full experience that we wanted. And you guys, it was vastly different than what I thought it was going to be. I was so hyper-focused on this house, and in my visions, I could see this little Scandinavian farmhouse with trees around it, with nature around it. But what I didn't realize when I let that vision go in May is that only 2 weeks later is that a Scandinavian farmhouse about 4 times the size of that would show up, but it would actually show up in Edmonton and it wouldn't show up in Vernon. And the moment that it showed up in Edmonton, it actually clicked into place and it made more sense for the new job that my husband is in. It made more sense for both of my boys who, are still in school in Edmonton and are going to be here living with us. It made more sense for my mama who's here right now. It made more sense for absolutely everybody. And then just recently I was at a conference and one of a newer friend to me that I've just met in the last couple of years, and she lives in another city, and we kind of just connect more on social media, and she came up to me and she said, "Oh my God, how's your farmhouse doing?" And I just looked at her and I said, "Which one?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot that you guys live in a barn, but then you also have this great big huge beautiful Scandinavian farmhouse. I forgot." And there was a really quick feeling inside of me that felt really ashamed to say that out loud, because I know some people are struggling just to manifest one thing in their life that they really want. And here I am, this old unconscious belief of it's okay for me to have some of the things that I want, but I can't have all of them because then that's just, it's gloating, it's bragging, it's don't take too much. But you guys, the law of pure potentiality, the law of abundance, the law of absolute law of attraction and manifestation states that the more that we appreciate, the more that the universe expands, and there is more to be experienced. There's more to be had. So I'm not taking away from anything. And it's been a bit of a reminder to me. One of my beautiful spiritual teachers and mentors, her and I had that conversation, and man, she's incredible. She's in her late 80s, and it's probably because she doesn't give 2 shits anymore. And she's just like, "Sister, lean into it. Somebody needs to show the way. Show what is possible. When you say, Spirit, show me how good it can get." When I allow myself to truly open and receive all of the different potentials that are available for me, and what is here for me is what is here for me. I'm not taking it away from Shauna or Cheryl or whoever other's name I can see on this, because what is meant for me is only meant for me. What is meant for you will be what's meant for you. And I know there's a lot of people, this house that we're in right now, thought that it was meant for them, because when I put the word out that we bought this and it was only on the market for a day, and it was one of our very good friends who this was his house and we ended up buying it, the amount of people who said, because there was 5 offers on it that day, who said, "Oh my God, I can't believe that you're the one who got that house. I know that I shouldn't have gone up against you. You're the manifesting queen." But what I would say is that we are sitting in it because this was what was meant for us. But there's billions of different potentials that are meant for you. That's just the thing. How often do we get caught up in being so worried and concerned that if we say no to something in the moment, that's our only choice or option, and then it's like, oh, well, that ship has sailed. That's never going to happen for me. It's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. So begin to enact the law of pure potentiality into your life this week. Okay, do this by changing up some of your daily habits and behaviors. See what new things you see what new conversations you have, see what new people you start to meet, see what new potentials start to come your way. And then, as always, share them with me because I would love to hear. You can send me a DM, you can comment into this. I would love to hear that. But then also this week, really begin to tap into your heart in every moment. And I say even and especially in the moments, and I feel this all the time too, you guys, where you notice yourself really slipping into jealousy or envy, or where you start to feel trapped. You're like, I want that too, and I can't have that, and that's not for people like me, or I don't have the resources to make that happen. That is one of the greatest gifts. Feeling stuck is one of the greatest gifts because it's showing you that there is something that really matters to you that you want very badly. And so your ability to be able to turn all of those external searchlights out and to turn them in and to say, okay, Spirit, then show me, what is this awakening in you? What is this activating? What is this fire inside of me that feels like it's burning so deeply? I want that. I want that. And now that I know that I want that, show me all the ways. I'm open to it. Okay, you got this. I'm here to hold you accountable if you need it. And you can hold me accountable. But before you go do anything else, take 2 minutes just to get really clear about what it is that you want this week. And then ask yourself, what's the first thing that I'm going to do that's different? Thanks for watching, you guys. Sending you so much love today and always. Happiest Mindful Monday. Beautiful snowy Monday out here at Edmonton. And we'll see all of you next week for the next law, the next principle. But stay with the Law of Pure Potentiality today. Namaste, my friends.